the Republican caucus about 2 months ago had this screening of Ronald Reagan. And I went for the movie. And they should have another screening. And they should play Ronald Reagan on tariffs. And Ronald Reagan will say, it seems like the patriotic thing to do. But those people in Congress, they're just bowing to special interests. And tariffs always raise rates. They cause inflation. They hurt competitiveness. They hurt innovation. And it's a false patriotism. Don't fall for it. And they should just watch that over and over and over again.
This seems pretty straightforward if you're a conservative. What also makes this, I think, somewhat absurd is they put out this formula here. I have it here. It's a chart like this that the president held up. And in the blue and white column, they basically had a made-up formula. Here's how Larry Summers describes it. It's now clear that Donald Trump's administration computed reciprocal tariffs without using tariff data. No tariff data at all. This is to economics what creationism is to biology, astrology is to astronomy, or RFK thought is to vaccine science. The Trump tariff policy makes little sense, even if you believe in protectionist, mercantilist economics. I don't understand. I mean, I guess they think nobody is going to bother to check, but making up numbers and then saying, oh, we're going to half that number and be generous is not math. It's also not economics. It's kind of no way to run the economics of the greatest economy in the world.
Well, look, I'm not going to get into the mathematical formulas they came up with because I wasn't there and I don't know how or why they did it. I have mixed feelings about this, truthfully. I wasn't trained to believe in tariffs. You know, those of us who grew up as traditional Republicans have always thought what Ronald Reagan thought. And so what Trump is doing here is implanting new economic theory DNA inside of the Republican Party. And what you're seeing is some Republicans are rejecting it. Some Republicans are reluctantly going on with it. Some Republicans are enthusiastically embracing it. I know people in the business community who are on both sides of it, frankly, back home in Kentucky and elsewhere. I'm also persuaded, frankly, by the Trump argument regarding the working class in this country and also by the fairness argument. So I will just say this. If it works, it'll be the ballsiest and gutsiest thing a president's done in decades. Let me finish.
No, please,
let me finish. And if it doesn't work, the political consequences fall on the shoulders of one man.
Actually, and I totally agree with you. This is the one time I actually agree with you. Jim Cramer said it best. Well, there are several, maybe 5 times. This is one of those 5 times. Jim Cramer said this is a man-made issue. One man made this issue, and it was Donald Trump. And I think that the Americans wanted lower prices. They didn't want higher prices. What's going to happen, and what economists are saying, is not only are people going to get laid off, but costs are going to go up. And that's not what the American people want. And they're going to see it in the midterm elections. And so I think that the Republican Party needs to be very careful about what they're doing. The other problem with all of this is the uncertainty. He's not saying how long these tariffs are going to go. He's not saying, is this a done deal for a while, or is it a short-term deal? And that's a problem.
Let me let Richard in.
You talked about the political consequences will be on the shoulders of one man, but the economic consequences are going to be on the whole world. This is an experiment that should not have been taking place because, and you talk about the Republicans who are not speaking up. So far, I mean, Mitch McConnell has come out with a statement. Where was he talking about this, by the way, during the campaign when we knew that tariffs were going to be large on the agenda? You also said...
You just raised an issue. You said during the campaign, when we knew, because Donald Trump...
No one ever expected this madness.
They expected Donald Trump to enact tariffs. He did it in his first term.
Let's be clear.
This is economic vandalism.
I mean, this is actually not...
Well, I would think a lot of working-class Americans would say what was done to them was economic crunch.
But the jobs that are going to come back, according to the Peterson Institute, the very jobs that Donald Trump says are going to come back are the jobs that America doesn't need. America needs high-paying, high-skilled, digital, a new age, AI-based economy. What he's talking about bringing back is old style. Basically, look.
Well, no,
here is a shoe. It's my shoe, right? It is made in China. You talked about these luxury products.
They are.
Right, but you take your shoe off and see where it's made.
Yes.
Made in China, made in Vietnam. This is going to be 34% more expensive. It's an ordinary shoe bought in a discount store.
Look, I represent Silicon Valley, but I think this country needs more than tech and AI jobs. We definitely need manufacturing, and we need to be a manufacturing superpower. Here's my problem with the tariffs. On the one hand, he's saying, well, this is not permanent. This is just a negotiating technique. Now, if you really think that, and you're Jim Farley, at CEO of Ford, or you're the CEO of Mary Barra, are you going to go to your board and say, well, let's put billions of dollars in build new factories, when Donald Trump himself is saying that 2 months later he may take this away?
I don't think Donald Trump is saying that. Donald Trump is saying we need to raise revenue in a different, old school way through tariffs. He would like this to be permanent. I think the people who are saying that are people like Scott, who would like it to be temporary.
He's saying that that we're here and they're here and they want to do that.
He is tariffing countries.
That's what he's saying.
Tim, he is tariffing countries.
Revenue is a secondary.
He is tariffing countries that do not actually tariff us at the levels that we are now tariffing them, because he is using a made-up formula based off of trade deficits.
He said on the plane tonight, I saw before I walked in here, that he's gotten a number of calls from the leaders of other nations around the world. So you wonder what kind of negotiations are going on. If I might offer a piece of advice, though.
His Treasury Secretary literally said, there are no conversations.
Well, the president of the United States said it on the plane tonight, so I don't know who outranks who. But let me just offer.
Exactly. I think to what end is a very
offer a piece of
important
advice. I do think that if an American ally comes to the table, like Israel did, and said we're totally eliminating our tariffs, we should immediately reward that. Because I do think part of the game here is, if you want to work with us and you want to treat us and American creators and American businesses fairly, we want to do the same for you. Israel did that. I assume other countries are going to do that.
Israel did that, and guess what? Guess what they did to Israel? They slapped them with a 17%
I know. I'm saying we should treat them. We should treat them the same.
17% tariff.
But if all the countries do what you say, Scott, and everybody does sort of come back to this level playing field, then the president is not going to get this other renaissance in manufacturing and renaissance of new jobs, because the level playing field, you make goods and services where it is economically advantageous to do so. And at the moment, in the United States...
Let's start digging up some diamond mines and exporting those, and then it will justify the tariffs that we have placed on small African nations for diamond imports. Some of this does not make logical sense.